Okay, so we're going to do a panoramic stitch using Photoshop and images shot with a DSLR. So let's just, while I'm thinking about it, the examples I took for this particular thing, I took horizontally. Normally you want to take them vertically, okay? And the reason being is you want to have the images at the vertical overlap about 40 to 50%, similar to that, okay? Because you need some kind of continuity between each image for the program to see what's going to happen. And then when you shoot them vertical like that, it gives you a little bit more room to move with cropping around the outside. So when they don't line up perfectly and there's a little bit of black space, you can crop that out without losing too much of the image. All right, so you'll see in this one when it lines up, it's going to end up being like super narrow because of the cropping. All right, so got the images I want to use in a folder or somewhere that I can select them easily. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to File, Automate, and Photo Merge. So this is going to bring up a dialog box. And I have a bunch of options here. I can choose auto, I can choose perspective. So perspective is going to correct the perspective of if you're shooting in kind of a semicircular fashion like you would your iPhone, you get that distortion that we were talking about. The perspective one's going to correct that out of there by bending the different photos. Spherical is going to do the opposite of the perspective correct. The best one I like to use is either collage or reposition. And the reason is collage and reposition are going to, if you've done something linear, the reposition will work really well for that. But if you've done something where you have multiple photos stacked like as a grid, the collage will work better for that. So I'm going to try the reposition and we're going to see how it works here. So I'm going to browse for my files and here they are. And I'm going to choose all of them and hit open. And they're going to get in there, going to blend together. You can play with some of this stuff, but I wouldn't worry too much about it, but you do want the blend together. So we're going to hit OK, let it do its thing. It's going to think about itself here for a minute. And it's going to look at the different things in the photograph and try to line them up to the best of their ability. Now, mind you, when I took these, this is like one of my first attempts at doing this, so not the best. I'm already kind of doing it not correctly because I didn't shoot vertically. Oops, my bad. All right, there we go. So if we take a look here, it did the reposition and look at how everything lined up. So in this image, I got a lot more clouds than I did in this image. And down here, I have a big hole, whereas over here, I have a big hole. All right, now my intention for these particular images was not necessarily panoramic in mind. It was more HDR in mind. So this is where that cropping thing I talked about comes in. So to crop this so that I don't have any holes, is going to look something like this, and I'm losing all this beautiful foliage down here. So there's my final kind of image. Now if we zoom in pretty close, and I'm just going to kind of scroll over here, I shouldn't be able to see the line, but I do. Okay, and that's sometimes the problem with this and where you want to give more overlap. I didn't give enough overlap here because if you look at how the layers are stacked up, what it actually does is creates a layer mask on each photo. Oops, so there's one layer mask, there's a different layer mask, and there's the third layer mask. So if we take a look here and I hit the layer mask button, that's the only thing in that particular photo it's showing. And so on and so forth with the rest of these. Let me deselect this here. There you go. So that's what it's showing from that photograph, and that's what it is showing from that photograph. So it's not really cutting them, and you can go in and clean things up. So like I can go into, let me zoom in here. I can go in here and figure out, okay, that's on that layer. I can play on the layer mask and kind of work with it. Now, like I said, I didn't do the best job. I probably didn't pick the best images to do this with, but that's the basic premise. Okay, let's try this one more time with, let me close this. I'm going to try the collage option and see if that works better than the reposition option. So automate, merge, try the collage, browse for my files. different. But this one actually is kind of working with the curvature of the Earth, whereas the other one was trying to line everything up straight. So let's zoom in again at our merge points here. Still not great. And again, like I said, I wasn't aiming for necessarily panoramic when I shot this. I was planning a little bit more for HDR, and you can see that exposure change from one image to the next. Um, so that's more how that works. But those are two different options for stitching things together. Like I said, make sure you're shooting vertical, not horizontal. It works out better, and you're overlapping at least 40%. So you're taking a lot of images for one panoramic. Okay? Okay.